Hey, how's everybody doing today? This is Bob Gumbs here with the Concerned Forum. I hope you folks are doing well. We have a pretty nice day out here in New York, downtown New York. Kind of gray skies, but it's one of those kind of nice gray New York days. Just a little bit, or as we used to say back in the 70s when I was in the Army, TT, okay? TT rain, TT mist, just a little bit. So now that we got the weather report, let me tell you, I'm kind of at a standstill. Not a standstill, let me correct that phrase. I'm kind of at loose ends a little bit because the wonderful guest that I had planned to have, unfortunately, some people don't agree with my opinion of the weather that we've had lately. And as a matter of fact, they disagree to the extent that they go out and get bronchitis. And I just left my friend. He is not doing too well. Unfortunately, he is down with a little problem of with the throat, like I said there, that bronchitis, and he will not be able to appear today. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Lynn is the gentleman. He's running for the Green Party position. Well, I should say he's a member of the Green Party, and he's running for the vacated seat of what is it? Gone but not beloved Speaker for the State Assembly, old Sheldon. What's his name? Silver? Yeah. The guy that's getting ready to go to jail. The gentleman that did so much to smash the hopes and dreams of working New Yorkers. Because, yeah, apparently this guy was doing deals. Now, this is Democrat now. Democrat. And that pains me. I'm a registered Democrat myself. And, you know, I'm really starting to wonder if I'm not kind of trapped in the time warp. Because when you talk about Democrat, to me, my being a Democrat is wrapped up with FDR, Jack Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, and I'm, you know, people of that ilk. And, excuse me a second, I have to kill my phone. But as I was saying, I'm one of those people that's trapped, you know, I'm caught up in that belief of what the Democratic Party is supposed to stand for, what it's supposed to be about. Now, apparently what this guy was doing, this old boy was basically making deals with the real estate industry, real estate, their cohorts on Wall Street, the banks, and what have you. And basically because of that, New Yorkers have found that the problem of housing has gotten to be worse and worse. Well, I think that now Mr. Silver will not have any problem for housing, and he will get to understand the true meaning of public housing because his room and board will be taken care of by the taxpayers. I'm quite sure that's not the way that he would like for it to be taken care of, but that's what's going to be happening nonetheless. So that's what happened to me today. and I wish my friend well, and hopefully he gets cured soon of his laryngitis or bronchitis, which, what have you, so that he can get back out there and run for office. Even though he's a member of the Green Party, I consider him to still be a good man for the position. And may the good Lord keep him safe and warm and get his throat better. Now, on to other things. We've had a mini explosion this past week. And of course, I'm probably guess I'm referring to the great, illustrious, infamous Donald Trump. More of his thrilling escapades took place this week. Apparently his was a chief staffer, campaign manager, what have you, has to go to court for manhandling a lady of the press. Well, I'll tell you quite frankly, I saw the video that was shown, and well, it's not like he jumped upon the poor lady and beat her in about the head and shoulders. His style was a bit aggressive, but having been in those kind of situations, I think the problem was that this guy allowed himself to get a little bit too hyper, and he went a bit overboard. But see, these are the things that happen when you have a paranoid with a lot of money that's able to run to be president. And what happens? Well, paranoids attract other paranoids. And I would say that that's basically what's happening with the Trump campaign. I think that's why his campaign manager was so quick to jump on the poor young woman. Now, I say that bearing in mind that politics is a rough game, right? And I'm old enough, I remember '68, okay? So yeah, a lot of emotions cooking, anger, and yeah, sometimes bad things do happen. That's no excuse for getting physical with people, especially a reporter who's just trying to do her job. But it explains it. It does explain it. It doesn't excuse anything. We're not trying to excuse anything here. All right? I'm into explanations. I'm into reasons, okay? And the reason, as I said, you got a paranoid running, and he draws about him other paranoid people of that same ilk. I mean, what's the thing about Trump, right? What's the big thing? What's the thing that got him started on this presidential quest? The Mexicans are coming. The Latinos are coming. They're coming over the border. They're coming through the fence. They're coming through tunnels. They're dropping by parachute. And he, how should I say, he plays to that mentality. Talk to most of the people. I would say generally most of the people that support Trump, what are they about? Well, the country's being taken over, which really means that they're afraid of all these brown people coming into the country. Now, I think that doesn't, it's a bit of a stretch, a real big stretch to try and label one ethnic group as being the source of all our problems. And I'm going to say something here. Now, I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter, right down to the bone. Okay, I say that. I believe in transparency. When I started doing this show several months ago, and I always put it out there because I believe it's important. I believe in transparency. And let me repeat, I am a Bernie Sanders supporter right down to the bone. No if, ands, or buts. Okay? Now, having said that, let me say something else. And I don't want anybody getting shocked. I don't want anybody emailing me, oh, you're a terrible person, blah, 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 blah. Okay? I think that what Donald Trump has done and is doing is a betrayal to populism. I think that what he has done and is doing is a betrayal to the little guy that he's always talking about, to the average Jane and Joe. I'll tell you why. Sadly enough, there is much truth in many of the things, well, I won't say many, but in some of the things that Trump has to say. When he speaks about stupid treaties, I want you to find me a working American. And when I say working American, I'm talking about somebody that has to be up, dark 30 in the morning, go out there, and with the sweat of his brow and the muscles of his back, that's how he or she has to make a living. I want you to find one of those people that have to work like that to tell me that the treaties that we've been making, America, our country, that the treaties that we have been making over these last 40 years have not cost us jobs, our industrial base, and quite frankly, our sense of who and what we are as a country. You know, it's like the last 10, 15 years, okay? Christmas. You wake up Christmas morning and you look for, if you're fortunate enough to have presents under the tree, open those boxes, look at those presents. How much of that stuff is made here in the USA? Right, damn little of it, okay? Now, before the internationalist Democrats start crucifying me, let me say this. I believe that America cannot be an isolationist country, all right? That's stupid. We all live on the, we live on the planet together. We have to share the world, its natural resources. We all have to take care of it. We all have a responsibility to do that, okay? So I don't want to be, don't hit me like that. Find something else to hit me with. Don't hit me with that isolationist BS, okay? Someone, I think it was someone from the Clinton campaign, what was it, MSNBC, I think, or CNN, they were, you know, yakking. And they said something to the effect of, yeah, well, so-and-so is, you know, wants us to go back to being, you know, wants us to go to being an isolationist nation, okay? Now, let's bear in mind, isolationism, or isolationism is the true stance of the Republican Party, okay? I remember Bob Taft. Well, I don't remember him, but I remember studying him and my old man talking about him. Okay, he was an isolationist, okay? Now, we know the party has changed a lot since then, you know, just like it's changed in its attitude towards civil rights. You know, remember, the Republican Party in this country used to be the Civil Rights Party. but we'll sit on that for the time being. But this idea that in order for us to be a leader in the world, in order for us to fully engage our fellow nations, that what we have to do, we have to basically give away the store. Again, that's BS, that's bull, okay? If you're talking about setting up some type of system where people who have had their jobs taken away, replaced, whatever, by, their services or their labor or whatever being done by folks overseas, well, then government has a responsibility to take those people and put them in some other field that is both beneficial to themselves and to the nation as a whole. That's what's called looking out for your own and still being engaged with the rest of the world. We don't do that. We have not been doing that here in America. That's a lot, and that's a huge part of the problem. People look at the whole global context with fear and foreboding, and you can't blame them because we're social animals. Man is a social animal, meaning we interact. Most of us, okay? Occasionally you got the Lone Ranger type person that wants to live in the mountains of Washington State, which is cool. But generally speaking, we are social animals, right? We work together, we play together, and quite frankly, speaking as a man, and I'm quite sure a woman will feel the same, will probably feel the same way, person has to have a reason to wake up in the morning, okay? And that goes into, let me put that down, because that deals with another tact that the conservatives, like to attack progressives with, okay? The whole welfare queen phenomena, okay? In other words, people don't, when they're 16, 17 years old, in a normal situation, they don't grow up saying, hey, when I grow up, I want to be on welfare. No, no. That's, that's not the case. All right? And I was raised in the projects. We went from the tenements to the projects. So I think I know what I'm talking about there, okay? But getting back to the point about this whole business with Trump and basically what the main problem with this guy is. As I said, yeah, he's right about some things. He's right about the thing about trade. We do make stupid treaties. I mean, come on, man. And this thing about free trade, it's like free sex. It's nothing is free, okay? A cost has to be paid in everything that you do, all right? You want to look like an NBA athlete? Well, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you in sweat equity, time, etc. Okay? That's life. So this business about free trade, no, I think what's more important is if we developed a system of fair trade, okay? Give you an example. The bane of my existence, the cell phone. Most of the time when you got a beef with your cell phone company, which can be quite frequently, you make a call, a lot of times you're dealing with people, and I'm not knocking anybody. You grow up where you grow up. You speak the language, or you start out speaking the language that you're born hearing, okay? But I've often wondered, customer service jobs, you take those jobs out of this country and you send them overseas. So what are the folks in this country that have been doing those type of that were doing that type of work? What happens to them? Right, they have to move on and find something else. Well, how do they do that? You know, I think there's something morally wrong with a society that preaches the virtues of higher education, but makes it more and more impossible for people to obtain that goal. Just something to think about. But again, that's where that's what causes Trump to have so much popularity, especially with the working class, because he's dealing with issues that our elites in both parties really don't do a great job in terms of trying to answer. Now, where he screws up, where he gets it wrong, and this is the danger, is when he takes an ethnic group or a group of ethnic groups and says, you know, you tell low-income, angry white males, hey, those brown guys over there, they're the ones responsible for the quality of your life going down the toilet. That's racism, and that's wrong. You know, it always amazes me. Conservatives always like to talk about how unique America is. You know, we're the unique nation. We're the exceptional nation, blah, 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 blah. And yet, they constantly attack, sabotage, throw rocks at, and any damn thing negative that you can think of to the thing that makes us the most exceptional nation in the world. The fact that somebody can come from, I don't know, 20,000 miles away. They can come here, right, to the United States. They can move out to Brooklyn, you know, and in 2 years' time, you know, they're flipping you the bird, you know, they're cursing you out. And then, hey, buddy, I'm from Brooklyn, screw you, you know. They're American. You're not going to find that in other countries. I know, I've been there. I've lived for a time in other parts of the world. It's not like that. And that is what makes us exceptional. Okay, what is it? The shows you I don't have that much contact with money. What's that thing on what is it, a dollar bill or a coin? E pluribus unum. I think if I can still remember my altar boy Latin, what is that? Out of the many, one. That's one thing I do agree with Barack about. That is what makes us exceptional, okay? That's what makes the American story not just exceptional, but so damn interesting. And see, that's what folks like Mr. Trump and the rest of those conservatives, they don't get it, all right? They just don't understand that, or they don't want to understand that. That we are not, oh God, how should I put this? We are not exceptional because we have the biggest military in the world. In history, you'll find there's always been one or two, you know, really super bad nations. You know, big guy in the block, right? So that in and of itself, that's not really, it's not a big deal. Okay, that's just part of the passing parade of history. What makes America so exceptional is the fact that we take, from around the world, okay? And we say, yeah, you can be one of us. And you're going to have the same rights, the same privileges, the same freedom as somebody that was born in, I don't know, Waterford, Massachusetts, and whose family came over with the Mayflower, okay? You're going to be just as good as they are. That's what makes us exceptional. And that's what Mr. Trump and the rest of those Republicans don't get, okay? And while we're on the subject, oh man, this thing that Donald did this week on Chris Matthews' show, oh man, ain't it rich? I tell you. Donald is getting his ass creamed because he told the truth. Now, before the ladies out there start throwing rocks at me, let me explain, okay? And I, speaking as a man, speaking as a father, I think that the most beautiful thing in the world is when a woman decides and is able to bring life into the world. But because she might have the capability to do that, that by no means should be used as some type of club or baseball bat or something to say that every time she gets pregnant, she must carry it to term. That is wrong. And that is what choice is about in the matter of reproduction. I would be terribly, terribly afraid to live in a country, to live in a society where a woman must be forced to have a baby. Having been married, and lived with women, I would just say that there are a multitude of things that women have to deal with that me as a man, I could never possibly understand, and that are best left, first of all, to the woman, to her medical caregiver, to her partner, etc. And that's how it should be dealt with her wishes taking the top concern, period. Because just like you don't know everyone's story, so therefore you don't really have the right to criticize. This whole abortion issue is the same thing. Every situation is different. That's why any attempt to make abortion illegal is not only wrong, it's dangerous, damn stupid. You have people conservative right-wing people that believe that the 12 or 13-year-old girl that's been sexually abused by her uncle should be forced to still carry that baby to term. Now, I know, there are conservatives and Republicans that, would agree with me that that child should have the right to seek an abortion. But, people like to use the term slippery slope. Well, when you get into this thing about saying, well, the state will decide whether or not you will have that child, whether or not you will have that baby. When you start getting on that ski slope, okay, you're asking for trouble. And I tell you something else too, and I have to be honest about it. Yes, I believe that a woman's right to choose is sacrosanct. Okay? I honestly believe that. But I must also be honest and admit that, yeah, there's a certain amount of self-interest in my position. And I'll tell you why. History, my studies of history have shown me that whenever you have a society that works to mandate what a woman can and can't do, okay, with her body, or who she can do it with, you want to talk about a slippery slope. You're putting that whole society on a slippery slope, because you're talking about impeding the freedom of everyone in that society, not just female, but male as well. And I'm a firm believer that the best way that we protect freedom for everyone in this country is to make sure that everyone's freedom is protected. And that's another point where I strenuously disagree with my conservative right-wing friends. Now, Donald got himself in a lot of hot water because he told the truth. What Donald Trump said was correct. Hear me out. If you believe that a woman deciding to have an abortion, if you believe that the whole thing of abortion should be made illegal, then you're saying, as a society, you're saying that the action that this person is contemplating is an illegal action. Me and my boys were sitting up late at night, and we're planning to knock over the Chase Bank. Okay? Robbing a savings institution is illegal. Okay? In our country, and in the world generally, but let's just talk about here in America, when you do something that's been declared illegal, then by virtue of the fact that you have committed an illegal act, then of course you're saying that you have committed an act which has to be sanctioned. There has to be some type of sanction. Could be a fine, could be time in jail, could be community service. But something has to happen. Society has to take some type of action against you or do something to you. And that's all Trump was really saying. So if you're with the right to lifers, as the Republican Party claims it is, which, looking at their behavior over the last few decades, I kind of have my doubts about that. But let's go ahead. Let's go along with their argument. If they claim to be right to life and that abortion should be made illegal, then by the fact that you're saying that something is illegal, therefore it deserves some type of sanction. Now, if that's what you believe, then Trump didn't really say anything wrong. All he has done, he has expressed the opinion of the Republican Party. He has expressed the opinion of just about all of the people that were running for the Republican nomination. And oh my God, that clown Cruz. Let me interject something right quick. People, stop this thing about getting all riled up about Donald Trump. If you're going to get riled up about Donald Trump, but not really pay attention to Ted Cruz, then you're really fooling yourself. Because Ted Cruz, to a huge extent, Ted Cruz is Donald Trump. Only he is a Donald Trump of a higher, how should I say? He's a Donald Trump with class, maybe, or intellect, okay? But there's no difference. Now, Kasich, I mean, he comes across as a nice man. He's kind of like a pops kind of figure, you know. You always got the older dude, right? Everybody calls Pops. You know, he's a cool guy, you know, nice, always got the kind word. But remember now, Kasich also says that abortion should not be legal, right? And see, the problem with Kasich is that, you know, if he got in the White House, he's going to be surrounded basically by other Republicans. So whatever good instincts this cat might have, I mean, they will be totally smothered, quite frankly. I've always asked myself the question, how can any humane person be a Republican in this day and age? Okay, like I said, my parents were Republicans, but that was a different time. I'm talking about today. You know, I also question how any woman or African American or Latino person could be a Republican. How can you be a member of a party that wishes to constrain you as much as possible, especially in their base? See, that's another big problem. The base of that party. Now, Donald Trump's comments about locking a woman up, I'm really curious to see just how much of an effect that has on working class white men. I'm glad to see that it's had an effect, especially, you know, working class white women. But I'm really curious to see how much does his comment change the dynamic of the president race, here for the nomination. Because, let's face it, white working class men have not always been the most sympathetic towards, equal rights for women, women's choice. Okay, I'm not trying to knock anybody. I'm just telling it like it is. So over the next week, we'll see. Now, as far as Wisconsin is concerned, again, not to denigrate an entire state, but that schmuck that they have for governor, that's the kind of, that's the chief executive that you select to run your state. Well, that might explain, that explains a few things about Wisconsin. But getting back to the main gist of this segment, the only problem with what Trump had to say is that he told the truth. And I would wish that women, regardless of their political stripe, I wish that they would really sit down and consider that. The logic, what's the word, the Latin phrase? Reductio ad absurdum. Breaking it down to its basics, if you believe that something is wrong, if you want something to be illegal, then by the very fact of you saying that, you want some type of sanction. And that's all Donald was saying. I believe abortion is wrong. I believe it needs to be against the law. And if it's against the law, then the people that practice it have to have some type of sanction. Now, I'm not saying that he's saying he wants to lock up women for 20 years for having an abortion. I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying that doctors or healthcare professionals that perform abortions should be taken out and shot. I'm not saying that that's what Trump is saying. Now, Ted Cruz is very close and gets buku support from people that believe that. Okay, Ted Cruz gets a lot of support from, what do they call it, Operation Rescue, that crowd. And see, that's what I'm saying. You got to start looking at Trump and Cruz. You got the pictures, right? Here's Donald. Here's Ted. Start melding their pictures together, okay? Because they're essentially the same guy. The only difference is one is more colorful than the other, basically. And I'm going to tell you something. I honestly believe old Ted Cruz, I think he's a little bit more dangerous than Donald Trump. One reason is because Ted is a fanatic. Remember, this was the guy that stopped government, literally. With his filibuster, he stopped government because of one of his nutty ideas, one of his nutty beliefs, right? So keep that in mind, please. Donald has a great capacity to make an ass of himself. As big, powerful, wealthy, great people, great in the sense of expansive, they have a tendency to do that. When they screw up big time. But Trump is not a fanatic. As a matter of fact, he is being torn to pieces right now because they're saying that he has no severe, strong convictions, which is why I say Ted Cruz, in reality, is the danger of the two. If you want to look at it that way, both these guys should not be allowed in the White House, not even for a tour. Okay. Now, that's how I'm calling it. Okay. But what I'm also saying is that when you start looking and listening, see, that's the problem here in America. A lot of us don't do. We don't listen. Listen to these Republicans. And when they're constantly bleeding out about being pro-life, listen to what they're saying. Listen very carefully. Because unfortunately, too many women kind of feel that, get themselves pulled in to that mindset, the so-called pro-life mindset. Ladies, be very careful. Because maybe not you, maybe your daughter, maybe your friends. But when you start talking about, and see, that's another thing. Let me interrupt myself. This whole thing, what did he say? He tried to come back after he said the initial statement about letting the states decide. When people say that about issues of personal freedom, that always really bugs the hell out of me. It really does. Because if you let the states decide issues of personal freedom, you are still letting the government determine personally your personal business, your personal life, what's good for you. And see, that's why I say that whole thing is so dangerous. What? The state of New Jersey, okay, or the state of North Carolina is going to decide whether or not you should carry a fetus to term? Not you, in consultation with your health provider, but the state. It's to me it's almost unbelievable in the 21st century, as we go into the 21st century, that we're even discussing this madness. It's sad, really. It truly is. And remember, this is the Republican Party that's doing this, okay? They're doing this because, like we used to say back in the day, they have no rap, okay? They have nothing for the American people. They don't want to deal, as Bernie does, with the issue of Wall Street in our politics, because that's what the Republican Party is about. The Republican Party is about money. It's not about you. Hey, small businessman, it ain't about you. Working class white guy that's unemployed because your factory has gone to China or Central America or Central Africa. Republican Party is not about you, but that's the purpose of social issues, to keep you angry, to keep you upset, to keep you stirred up. Social issues are not going to get you back to work and getting the salary you got in 1969. Social issues are not going to get your kid through college, okay? Social issues are not going to ensure your quality of life. And that's exactly why the Republicans keep throwing it out, getting you involved in that. Okay? Now, they've been advised by their own kind. I think even that little twerp, what's his name, Rance Priebus, in 2012, what was he talking? He was talking about, we got to stay away from the social issues. But yet, it always winds up being about the damn social issues to a large extent. Because they have nothing else. They have nothing else for a society, for a country where the gap in wealth between the rich and the poor is constantly growing wider and wider. They don't want to talk about that because they're the ones that caused it. Now, that's not to say that the Democratic Party, our hands are not totally clean either. And that's one of the beefs that many people in my party have about the Clintons, because they are accused of being the ones that actually brought Wall Street into the Democratic Party. America, America. You know, I really wonder what historians 100 years from now are going to say about us. What are they going to say about the masses of Americans and the crap that we have put up with in this time period? It's just, you know, it's unbelievable. Now, tell you something else. This guy, Trump, oh man, I really want to give him a medal, and I'll tell you why. Because one thing Donald Trump has done, he's like a mirror, and he has shown America just how ugly we can be at times. He's shown America, and he's obviously he's showing the world. And we know for a fact that the rest of the world, they look at our elections with keen interest. And quite frankly, at this point, we're scaring the shit out of everybody. And I can see why. You know, you got this madman Trump. You have this other madman, Cruz, and it's incredible. It really is. They feel that Donald Trump, if he's unleashed, he'll launch a thermonuclear war. You know, I think it's quite possible. I think that's a possibility if you have Trump or Ted Cruz in there. Trump has hooked himself to a party that has become a party of extremists. How should I say? Especially when you talk about extremes in the social areas. Extreme in hate, you know. Cruz is talking about patrolling Muslim communities, which will basically put us right there in the category of Nazi Germany, because that's what the Warsaw Ghetto was. Remember, you had all the Jews living in one spot, and they were more or less walled in and patrolled. So you got Trump and you got Cruz, okay? You know, Trump with the wall, Cruz with the armed militarized police force patrolling the walled-off area. Now, I'm wondering, as an American, is that the picture of this country that we want the world to see? You know, I got to thank for old movies. I love them, especially a lot of them were made during World War II, especially those that came out like Casablanca, the stuff that came out like in 42 and 43. Oh, man. I mean, it really had that American spirit, you know? And I think that that is the America that the people of the world would like to see again. See, we have to understand that we lost our way. And to my progressive friends, of which I consider myself a progressive, don't get me wrong. We didn't start off on the good foot in this country. We started off in a bad way. We started off with genocide, land theft, and chattel slavery. Now those are facts, okay? That's what we did. That's how this country came to be. But you always had that group that was constantly trying to get us going down the path of justice, down the right way, okay? World War II, segregated armed forces, virulent racism, especially in the South. Not excluding the rest of the country, but especially in the South. But we had enough progressive people in the country, in government, that were trying to push us, trying to guide us into the right, push and guide in the right direction. And unfortunately, after the end of the war, the forces of regression, the forces of militarism in this country started to get the upper hand. And what I submit to you is that what the world wants to see is an America that actually tries to practice what she preaches. That's not difficult to comprehend. Practice what you preach. Or at least show the world that you're making an honest, serious attempt to do that. And once again, as we wrap up, let me say that that's why I support Bernie Sanders. Because that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get us on that good foot, basically. Trying to get us on that right path. Well, once again, I'm sorry that my guest was not able to come today because of his laryngitis. And, laryngitis, bronchitis. I'm getting mixed up. But I'm glad I had the chance to get some things off my chest. And this whole business about Trump. So listen, folks, have a good day, and we'll see you next week. Take care now. the, I guess you can crank me up here.